Hello, friends. Come on and find a seat. We are going to get going. We'll get started in a second. Go ahead and find a spot. It is so good to be together this evening. You guys excited? Awesome. Awesome. My name is Ben. I'm one of the pastors here at Grace Bible Church, and I just want to thank you all for taking your Saturday evening and making tonight a special night. We truly hope that tonight would be a night of hope and inspiration for you, and that this would be a time where you would feel more empowered to live your life, who you're supposed to be. We know that we are in difficult times, and the world can be divided by everything. And we know that we are here from all different walks of life, united, that we want to see people healthy, and we want to see communities changed, and we want to see people living in freedom. And so tonight's the first night. This is a long time coming for the Colemans, and they've put so much work into making this happen. We're going to give them a big round of applause. This is the Knowing You Matter Conference. Cindy and Daryl Coleman, the founders.
Can you hear me?
Okay. How about me? Okay, great. Oh, thank you for coming to the Knowing You Matter Conference. We're Daryl and Cindy Coleman. Cindy's the pretty one. I always say that our five boys got all their good looks from me because she still has hers. So. But seriously, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to come out tonight to spend time and be out here, seeking help, seeking connection for mental health and wellness in your life. We're really honored to be here and to help present this event and have so many resources here with us.
We're so happy you guys are here, and we just want to say whatever struggles that anybody's dealing with today, or they brought just whatever you're going through, we just want you guys to know, just like Daryl said, we are so honored that you guys are here tonight. We are so glad you're here, and we just hope that tonight is a blessing for you.
So tonight you're going to be hearing our story and the stories of others in our community. And we also have a special guest speaker, Sam Anthony Lucania, who came out all the way from Virginia to be with us here tonight and encourage us today.
And we want you to know that you're not alone and that you matter. That's the biggest thing, knowing you matter. Every single person in this room matters. And whatever it is, we want to just see that community and connection grow. And that's why we have all these amazing resources out there. And thank you for every single person that came with their resources tonight.
We're stronger together.
Yeah.
So with that, without further ado, Randy, roll that video.
We have 5 sons, and our middle son unexpectedly January 2019, died by suicide, and it just rocked our worlds. And after this happened, my husband and I just looked at each other and said, we're going to do something. We can't see this happen and not do anything. And because of Mikey and who he was a people connector. He let everyone know that they matter. He was so influential in this community, went to Rio Grande High School and then was attending Cal Poly. And so we decided to just start this foundation called Knowing You Matter.
Our mission statement is the Knowing You Matter exists to show you, the one who's considering somebody that has suicidal ideation, the one that has somebody has attempted suicide or other self-harm, and the friends of the family of the lost matter through community outreach and support. So we knew that we wanted to gather people to support people that were going through these struggles.
So through telling our story, it's just been a wonderful way to connect with people and build community, break that stigma.
Through telling our story and touching the hearts of people that have a similar story, or by bringing someone to tell their story, that people will relate and that they will realize that they matter too, that they'll speak up, because what we're really trying to do here is to create conversation, which then creates connection. Hey, I need help. And through that connection, community. There's help here for you.
The importance of communication is huge. It's something that Sam talks about, our speaker. We are as sick as our secrets, you know, and communication is everything. To be able to just be able to talk to somebody and to know that there's somebody there who wants to listen, and to be able to share our thoughts and our feelings instead of burying them deep down inside in shame that maybe we've done something or someone's done something that they didn't feel good about, that we don't have to bury ourselves in that shame, but we can get it out and get the help that we need.
You injure yourself out in the world, you break your arm, you cry out for help. Hey, my arm is broken. But nobody judges you about that. Oh, he's got a broken arm. But you deal with, thought that isn't socially acceptable. I'm going to take my life, or I don't know how to get out of this depression. I don't know why I'm so sad. These things are feared by the people that are going through it. What are people going to say about me or think about me? Am I going to be rejected? All I know is that I didn't know that Michael was hurting at all.
The importance of communication is that when we do share, and I know Daryl and I, as we've even shared our story, and it's been very vulnerable to talk about, but really when you share it, you get a lot of love and support and acceptance, and you realize that we don't have to walk around in shame with some of the hard experiences that we've had in our lives. People,
I believe, are afraid of admitting that they need help and that they're hurting. It's just something that wants to hide in the darkness, and you expose. What I find is that if you expose something into the light, the darkness fades. And through reaching out and asking for help, I believe that healing's going to come.
We are living in a world today where people, they don't know their purpose, they don't know their identity, much less knowing that they matter to anyone. Suicide rates have skyrocketed. Substance use, domestic violence. I mean, it was already out of control, but bring on COVID and it obliterated our numbers prior to 2020. And we're talking age groups like 9 to 17, up 200%. So you don't start contemplating taking your life if you think you matter. You wouldn't do that, right? So the idea is understanding that you matter in this world and that you have purpose and that you have value and that people love you and care for you is hugely important. And knowing you matter speaks to not just the individuals who might be contemplating taking their lives or contemplating their value, but it speaks to the survivors who've experienced tremendous, insurmountable, inexplicable loss because of suicide.
Michael's death, I can't reconcile. I can't reconcile it in my heart. I have days of just grief And the only way I'm getting through this grief is by talking to someone about it. That's the only way it's done. So even, all of these different facets, somebody that's that's considering, somebody with ideation, somebody that's, already inflicted self-harm on themselves and survived it. Or I'm in the situation of the third, which is losing a family member and dealing with severe grief. It's been over 2 years, and I deal with it on a daily basis, to one degree or another. But the hope is, and the healing is that I'm not hiding it, I'm talking about it.
In our experience in losing our son, we've just realized that, wow, people have come around us, they've come alongside of us. And so many times you just want to bury yourself under the covers and just not get out of bed or not get out there. You don't want people to maybe ask you questions. But in reality, the more open that we become about what we're really going through, in reality, there's a lot of acceptance that comes our way. And I think that that's something I've realized in my own opening up is, wow, these people really do care about me. They're embracing us. They're not shaming us for what's happened. And because it's so vulnerable to actually share what we're really going through when we're hurting. The grief that I've gone through has been extremely difficult to share, but so healing to share it. So healing to share it.
The thing that happens is that in the midst of those lows, you can't see past it. You can't see the horizon. You can't see that I'm going to, come into a new relationship, or you can't see that I'm going to get a better job, or I'm going to make more money in the future, or whatever it is that you're going through. You can't see past the immediate. But, having that trust, that you just got to keep going.
And knowing you matter connects people with a shared common denominator, and builds a community of hope through that. You're not alone. You matter.
There's so many different resources that through our conference and our resource fair, we've been able to bring together several organizations to just, talk about what they do, give pamphlets and just connect with each other. And then, having our speaker, Sam Anthony Lucania, to be able to tell his story and to be able to let people know you're not alone. You matter. There's hope for you. This isn't the end, It's just huge. And I think that it just makes us feel so connected to our community. We want people to feel connected in the community and to be able to realize that there's hope, there's resources out there.
I want you to picture this. When you leave here tonight, you call your loved one, your parents, your sibling, your friend, but they don't answer the phone, which is rare. When you get to wherever you're supposed to be meeting them, you see their car out front, their bike, their skateboard for you younger people. So you're like, oh, they're home, they just missed my call, right? You go inside, you call their name again. But instead of hearing them say hello, all you hear is because they overdosed on prescription pain pills and they're in the other room taking their final breaths. That's how my wife found me in January of 2013. And I'm grateful that she did because I wasn't ready to die. My name's Sam, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict. I've struggled with depression, anxiety, and suicidal behavior. But that's not who I really am. It's not how I want to be labeled. It's definitely not how I want to be remembered, because the truth is, I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a son. And most importantly, like everybody here today, I'm a person. But I'm a person for a long time. I didn't want to die. I just had no idea how to live. So I did one of the hardest things that I ever had to do in my entire life, and I asked for help, and I changed the way that I was living my life. But even after I did that, I still realized that no matter how hard I work for my future, some people will always define me by my past. Look, before I go any further, I just want to make one thing clear. I'm not here to tell anybody what to do. I'm not going to try to scare you with statistics. I'm not even going to say don't do drugs. What I am going to do is I'm going to share my experience with you and my struggles. And I know somebody in here is going to be able to relate, because we all struggle with something. Anxiety, depression, bullying, family problems, self-harm, self-hate, fear, insecurities, guilt, shame, addiction. You don't always get to choose the hand that you're dealt, but you always have a choice. You have a choice in whether you're going to go and seek help for those problems, or you have a good choice of whether you're going to act like those problems don't exist and handle them alone, which is what I did. And that's why I took my first drink when I was 12 years old. You see, when people hear that, there's a lot of assumptions. Well, you probably came from a broken home, right? You were neglected, abused. Addiction runs in your family. Your parents must be divorced. Y'all want to know the truth? None of that applies to me. I was raised in a good home, Catholic church. Parents are still married to this day. No neglect, no abuse, no addiction in my family. You want to know what was going on with me, though? I was full of this anxiety. Everything made me anxious. Waking up, going to school, talking to girls, talking to anybody. I had no social skills because they didn't teach that thing in the classroom, and it wasn't being taught to me at home. In addition to that anxiety, I was also very insecure. I was insecure about my braces, my acne. My parents didn't have a lot of money, so I always didn't have the coolest clothes or sneakers. The girls that I liked didn't like me back. Some of the other boys started to work out and gain muscle. I was walking around all skin and bone. I like to put it like this. I don't know what you thought about me, but all my life I was very concerned with what I thought you thought about me. You see, if I thought you thought I was stupid, I felt stupid. If I thought you thought I was ugly, I felt ugly. Let me do this. This is a good-sized room, so this should work. Who here worries about what other people think about them? Raise your hand and be honest. All right, it's a typical response, a little bit over half the room. So for everybody to raise their hand, thank you for your honesty. Who here didn't raise their hand because you were worried about what the person next to you would have thought about you if you raised your hand? And there's the other half of the room. And honestly, I can relate to both of you. Because that was me. I should have raised my hand because that was my main concern, but please don't make me raise my hand in public. Don't call on me. Don't make me stand in front of the class. Don't make me read out loud. And then I took my first drink and all those feelings went away. When I took that drink, there was no more anxiety, no more depression, and I didn't care what you thought about me. And that worked for a little while, until I realized that even after I was drinking, I was still comparing my insides to other people's outsides. And I'm talking way before social media, so y'all got it a lot harder than I did. I would walk the halls of my school, and I'd see kids with new sneakers and new jeans and a new backpack, and I'd think to myself, man, if I can get some of those things, I might feel better about myself. And eventually I did. Eventually I got some new sneakers. I got a cool backpack. I got a new haircut. Just not this one. And I'm going to let you in a little secret. You want to know something? Nothing changed. Because changing something about my appearance or something that I had on didn't change the brokenness that I had in here. Has anybody ever done that before? Has anybody ever changed something about your appearance to try to make you feel better inside? Yeah, maybe you started dressing a little bit different. We cut our hair a certain way. Fellas, we did a couple extra push-ups, right? Ladies, we put on a little extra makeup. If you've ever changed something about your appearance to make you feel better inside, do me a favor and raise your hand. Okay, it's a lot of you. Now, for everybody to raise your hand, once again, thank you for your honesty, but I'm going to ask you a question I already know the answer to. Did anything change? No, it didn't. Because like I said, changing something about your appearance is not going to make you feel better. But that's what society wants us to believe, though, right? Society says if you buy these sneakers and you wear these jeans and you get these things, you're going to feel better. People will notice you if you just get some of that What, y'all acting like y'all know about the You know what I'm talking about. I'm rich now, but I want to be richer. Fellas, I'm big now, but I want to be bigger, ripped-er. Man, I'm high now, but I want to get higher. Chester Bennington in Lincoln Park. Anthony Bourdain, no reservations. Stephanie Adams, she was a model and a millionaire before she was 30. Where's my music fans at? Avicii, internationally known sweetest DJ. Anybody want to tell me what they all have in common? Well, one, they all had that They were famous, rich, popular, pretty. And if you didn't know, I hate to be the one to tell you that they all died by suicide. Now, I'm sure that there's more to the story than I have all the information for, but one thing I do know for sure is all that couldn't fix whatever was going on inside of here. And I know a few of them also had problems with addiction and substance abuse. I got to wonder if they started off as recreational drug users or started off with gateway drugs. We've all heard those terms before, right? Recreational drug use and gateway drugs. What is the gateway drug? No. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. You ready? The gateway drug is the first one that you try. For some people, it's weed. For somebody else, it's a prescription pill. I do a lot of speaking in schools, and when I speak to just my young friends, I like to ask the crowd, who here is already vaping? Who here is already smoking? Who here is already drinking? And I got to let them know, for everybody that said yes, or that's me, that's your gateway drug. But more importantly than that, it's not the substance that's gateway. It's the behavior. You see, it's the behavior behind the intention of why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. So I like to ask my young friends, what's going on with you in here that you can't go from one class to the other without vaping in the bathroom? What's going on with us as the adult side of things that we can't go to a work function with people we see 40 hours a week or to a holiday function with people that share our blood and not be comfortable until we have a cocktail in our hand? Well, I'm not here to speak for anybody else, but for me, I could be at a party with 100 people, and I can feel like the only one in the room until I took something, until I drank something. You see, that was my gateway behavior. Now, I said that once in a school. I had a kid come up to me, he's like, all right, man, you got me. That actually made a lot of sense. But what about recreational drug use? Like just on the weekend with my friends, that's okay, right? I said, no, it's not, for two reasons. Number one, when I think recreation, I think hiking. I think skateboarding, paintball, cornhole. I don't think about popping Molly and doing lines of cocaine and smoking Xanny bars. I just don't. But two, every single person I know today, myself included, that struggles with addiction started off as a recreational drug user. You would not have been able to convince me in a million years when I was drinking out of red Solo cups in my mom's basement and smoking blunts in the wood with my friends after high school I'd have a problem with cocaine. No way I would have believed that. The exception to that rule is the person that never really had a problem with drugs and maybe got addicted to a prescription pill because they misused it. Yeah, that happened to me too. When I was 16, I got addicted to prescription pills. You notice the language shift there? But wait, Sam, this all just started off with like self-medication, covering up your depression, your anxiety, maybe a little peer pressure. But then there's some things you are, or there's some things that you take. You know, I don't care how spiritual you are. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care how much money you or your parents have. You just can't fight the addiction. You see, it's very easy to tell yourself you're going to take just one of something before you take it. But once whatever one is gets in your body, you lose the ability to control when you're going to take your next one or when you're going to take your last one. For me, it's usually I want to end up in the ICU or handcuffs. I had surgery on my ankle when I was 16 years old. I got sent home with a bottle of Percocet, and I took one pill. I fell in love right away. Now, I wasn't very academic in school, but I'm a pretty smart guy. If one is good, two must be better, right? Nope. More is not better. More just means more. More almost killed me later on. I wonder if I would have known then what I know today about prescription pain medication if I still would have taken it. Because what I know today is that things like Demerol, Vicodin, Dilaudid, OxyContin, Lean, all that stuff is heroin in a bottle. Want to know the difference? One comes from the pharmacy, the other one comes from the dope man. And here's the problem with pills, or any drug really, they run out. They always do. One's too many, 100's never enough. So I went back to doing what I was normally doing, which is just drinking and smoking on the weekend with my friends, because that's what you do in high school, right? Well, at some point, I can't really tell you when, the weekend became the weeknights. And then the weeknights became the week mornings, and I, at some point, found myself getting drunk and high alone. I don't know if anybody here has ever been drunk or high alone, but it is a lonely, lonely place. And I do not wish it upon anybody. That behavior of mine continued so much, I didn't even graduate high school on time. After high school, I had to go to summer school to get my diploma. I thought all my problems had to do with the people I was hanging out with. You know, the things that we were doing, the places that I was going. It was New Jersey that was my problem. That's where I grew up. So I left New Jersey and I moved to Virginia. But I couldn't run away from myself. Everywhere I went, there I was, and I was going downhill quick. I was bartending at the time, living in a one-room apartment with a mattress on the floor. And I had a roommate named Jesse. And me and Jesse had a lot in common. And what I mean by that is every night when I would get off my bartending shift, him and I would drink and take drugs together. But that night when I got home, something was different. Because that night when I got home, there was a bunch of emergency vehicles on my front lawn. That night when I got home, Jesse's brother Kevin ran up to me and he had this sick look on his face and tears in his eyes. And on that night when I got home, that's when he told me that Jesse died by suicide. And right away I was caught off guard. I was like, but I was just with him last night. Like, what do you mean? And I started having the feelings that anybody that's experienced this, I think we kind of all have, which is, what did I miss? What could I have done different? Did he say something? Is there something I could have said? And I didn't learn this until much later in life, and I wish I would have known it back then, until somebody taught me the 3 C's of trying to help somebody else. And the 3 C's are this. Whatever was going on with Jesse, I didn't cause it. Whatever was going on with Jesse, I couldn't cure it. And whatever was going on with him, there was nothing I could have done to change it. When it comes to helping other people, it's unfortunate, but you're responsible for the effort, not the outcome. Now, to be honest with you guys, I never really needed a reason to drink or take drugs before. I mean, it's just what I did. It could have been a good day, it could have been a bad day. I might have got promoted, I might have got fired, maybe I got a date, I might have gotten dumped. I mean, it's just what I did. So what do you think I did after I found out my roommate died? I handled it the way I handled everything. And it's usually at that point in my life when people look at me and they say, Sam, I got to ask you this question, bro. Why can't you stop drinking and using drugs, dude? Like, can't you see the way you're living your life isn't working out? I mean, what, you've been arrested 4 or 5 times now? You've been through, what, 2, 3 treatments? Your friend just died? Why can't you stop? And the answer to that is actually very simple. You see, in order for me to stay right, I got to be physically fit, spiritually fit, mentally fit. That's how I manage my depression. That's how I handle my anxiety. That's how I stay sober. When I am those 3 things, I'm untouchable. When I'm not those 3 things. If you knew how I felt in here, the loneliness, the fear, the desperation, the guilt, the shame, the insecurity. If you knew that's how I felt when I wasn't drinking and taking drugs, you wouldn't ask me why I did it. It's the only way I knew how to wake up in the morning and go to bed at night. So what I'm saying is, to the person that's sitting here right now and struggling, I know exactly how you feel in here when you're not cutting yourself. I know exactly how you feel in here when you're not starving yourself. I know exactly how you feel in here when you're not dressing like that and covered in makeup. I know exactly how you feel in here when you're not drinking that drink and taking that pill. But I want to tell you this, and if you guys haven't heard anything that I've said up until now, please listen. If you knew how I felt in here, once I finally told somebody how I felt in here, freedom. Hands down, the most powerful thing I've ever done in my entire life. But I was too afraid. I couldn't come up to you and tell you I've got so much depression I don't want to get out of bed every day. I can't come up to you and tell you I've got so much anxiety I don't want to leave the house in the morning. Ain't no way you're going to understand the amount of pills that I'm taking and the alcohol that I'm drinking. But once I finally told somebody, not only was I not labeled, not only was I not judged, not only was there no stigma, I was actually congratulated on having the courage to speak up and get the help that I so desperately needed. The problem is, by the time I did this, it was almost too late. You see, somebody once told me that you're only as sick as your secrets. You're only as sick as your secrets. And if that's true, then I was pretty sick. I was actually dying inside. Looking back, I can actually see that my behavior was suicidal. Now, when we hear that term, I don't know about you, but I kind of picture my roommate, Jesse. You know, somebody sitting on their bed, writing their final letter, with a bottle of pills in their hand, ready to take their life. And yes, that's one form of being suicidal. It's the last step, in fact, and I'm going to tell you right now, there's nothing romantic about it. But there's another form, and it's the kind that I was. And if you actually look up the definition, it's defined as being destructive to your own interests. That was me. Taking handfuls of pills, washing it down with a fifth of vodka, not caring how it impacted me or anybody around me. Now, you got to be asking yourself, if you're paying attention, like, well, Sam, it didn't start like that, did it? Did it start with handfuls of pills and a fifth of vodka? No, it did not. It started with one drink that came from my parents' liquor cabinet as a 12-year-old boy. It started with one pill that was prescribed to me that came from the doctor at 16 years old. And anybody knows my story, knows pills are a big part of my story. And I've been addicted to a lot of things, and this is not me bragging, because honestly, it's nothing worth bragging about. But I mean, I was a pack of Newports a day smoker for 10 years. I was a wake and bake weed smoker for 10 years. Ecstasy, powder cocaine, prescription pills, Xanax, Adderall, Oxy. Hands down, the hardest drugs I've ever had to get off of in my entire life. They almost killed me. But as I've grown, as I've done some counseling, as I've done some 12-step, and as I've gotten my relationship with God, I learned something very valuable. It wasn't about going up or going down. It wasn't about getting really high or getting really low. It wasn't about anti-anxiety medication or antidepressants or anti-pain medication. It was all anti-Sam medication. I just didn't want to be right here. Just get me out of here. Let's go. The problem is, trying to get out of here one night almost cost me my life. I wasn't trying to kill myself that night. I really wasn't. I was just trying to get out of here before my wife got home. I didn't want my wife to find me like that. I didn't want my wife to have to call 911. I didn't want my wife to have to give her husband CPR while the medics showed up. I didn't want my wife to have to stand out of the room of the ICU talking to my parents, telling them that the doctors just told me we don't know if Sammy's going to wake up. And I'm standing here today telling you it's only by the grace of God that I did wake up. And I'm so grateful for that, because I didn't want to die. I just didn't want to live. I just didn't know how to live. So I did the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in my entire life. and I asked for help. Does anybody here know what a TEDx talk is? Some people. So TEDx talk, I did one a few years ago, and you're supposed to come up with like a clever title for your TEDx talk. And the title of my talk was the dirtiest four-letter word that can save your life. And the word I was referring to was help. You know, because for me, all my life, help was, you know, the hardest thing I've ever had to do. You know, it's the one thing that everybody needs, but most people won't ask for because it makes us feel weak. It makes us feel insecure. Society tells you, you got this, man up, rub some dirt on it, right? I mean, that's what we're told to do. It's hard to ask for help. It's hard to ask for help the first time. It's even harder to ask for help after you've already received some help, gotten well, and because you're human, fell flat on your face. And now you got to ask for it again. It's hard to ask for help the third time and the fourth time. And trust me, I've had to do it. I mean, I think I've got a sobriety date in every month of the year at this point. I've been a chronic relapser since 2004. Can I be vulnerable with you guys for a second? I know I've really been holding back. The Colemans contacted me, I think it was like mid or end 2019 for this event. And when they contacted me, I was on fire. I mean, I was just past 4 years of sobriety. I had 2 boys, 9 years of marriage. My speaking career was going great. Like, everything was awesome. 2020 was an awesome Q1 for me. I had so many events on the books. I was reaching so many people with my message. And then this thing called COVID happened. And I didn't handle it well, I'm not going to lie. At first, I was okay. I was all like Joey motivational, taking pictures of my kids in the living room, like, hey, we set up a tent. And yeah, a few more weeks went by, and I mean, I slowly started to crack, and you know, for a while there, things actually started to get really dark. And I can give you all the excuses in the world, like, you know, social distancing, quarantine, contact lists, 12-step meetings, churches, gyms were closed. I can give you a lot of excuses why I relapsed. The main reason is I got away from the 3 things that were keeping me right: spiritual fitness, physical fitness, and mental fitness. When I was thrown a curveball, I didn't adapt and I didn't change. And I was very scared to come forward with this because this is what I do for a living now. Like, how can I come out and tell people that I've relapsed? Like, is anybody going to want to hear me speak? Are you guys going to judge me? I actually called Cindy and told her what happened, almost expecting her to say, like, thanks, Sam, but we're going with another speaker. And I knew what I needed to do to get back into it. But I also knew that there were some things that I wanted to work out with a professional. I wanted to sit down and meet with a professional counselor to go over some things. And I started calling counselors, and I called 12 of them over the course of 3 days, only to hear back from 2 that they weren't accepting new patients. I think that's a slight flaw in our mental health system, but that's a topic for another day. I've always been very open about my recovery, my addiction, my struggles, and I have no anonymity. I mean, I've been public with everything since day one. So I went on social media just to, I don't even know what I was looking for, just maybe posting my frustrations, I don't know. And I basically just told social media, I told Facebook what I told you, like, I've been calling counselors, nobody's getting back to me, blah, blah. And what happened next was absolutely remarkable. I got dozens of text messages and phone calls and emails and DMs saying, like, hey, I'm not a counselor, but if you need to talk, I'm here. Here's the name of my practice and my counselor, and you know, this is their name, and they're wonderful, and they're accepting new patients. Well, I actually use this app where I meet with my counselor virtually, and I was able to get an appointment in 24 hours. And I had to step back, and I'm like, why me? Like, why are people reaching out to me to help me like this? Like, I'm not popular. I'm not famous. In fact, I'm quite ordinary. But if there's one thing that I've learned to do over the years to stay alive is take my ordinary problems and share them extraordinarily well. Now, I might have to stop here for a second because I might have offended somebody because I just called your problems ordinary. Ordinary doesn't mean that your problems aren't remarkable and they're not a big deal. Ordinary just means common. And look, I'm very sorry that what happened to you when you were a little kid is common. I'm sorry that what your parents are going through right now is common. I'm sorry that you can't stop cutting yourself or starving yourself or drinking that drink or taking that pill is common, but it is. You know what? In fact, let's prove it. I've never done this before, so I hope it works. If you know anybody or you yourself struggle with anxiety, stand up. Be honest. If you yourself or you know somebody that struggles with addiction, stand up. If you yourself or you know somebody that struggles with depression, stand up. That was only 3 things. I'd say we all have something in common. But I bet every single one of you, when you walked through the door tonight, thought you were the only one. And if you guys can't see this that are being live streamed right now, I got the entire room up. Go ahead and sit down for me. Thank you. It's okay if whatever you're going through, it's okay. Like, yeah, it's okay if it's not okay. No, that's not what I'm saying to you. I'm telling you it's okay. It's okay if whatever you're going through is a big deal to you. It's okay if whatever you're going through somebody else thinks is not a big deal. Here's what's not okay. Here's what's never okay. It is not okay for you to determine the size of your problem based on how somebody else handled that problem. Yeah, I've had people do that to me, like, yo, man, I had a problem with alcohol a few years ago. I just put it down. I've been clean ever since. Yo, that's good for you, bro, but this drink is killing me. It's ruining my marriage. I need help with this. You don't need to make your problem small just because somebody else thought that it wasn't a big deal. Don't let other people make your problems small either. You see, it's a very common defense mechanism. I used to do it all the time. You know, people would be like, yo, man, you okay? Like, I saw you last night. Like, you were drunk, you fell down the stairs, you said something stupid, like, you hurt yourself. I'm like, yeah, man, that was a one-night thing. Don't worry about me. I'm good. You see, I made my problems small because if I make my problems small, you feel like you don't have to help me. I'm a personal trainer. I was training this kid at my house one time, and he was doing pull-ups, and I looked at his wrist. I said, yo, man, you okay? Right away, he put his hand in his pocket. He said, yeah, man, I'm good. It only happened once. I was like, yeah, there's 4 of them. Maybe we don't want to tell people about our problems. We make our problems small because we think we're going to get labeled and judged. Maybe we think we're going to receive some stigma, right? There's a lot of talk about that. Like, well, you can't get help for what your problems are because there's a lot of stigma when you talk about mental health. Screw stigma. You're going to get stigma whether you get help or not. You might as well get the help so you're in a good frame of mind to deal with the stigma. Okay? I'm going to tell you, I got a couple minutes. I'm going to tell you a story about stigma real quick. Are my slides up? Yeah, they are. All right. So it's 2019. I'm sitting on the couch with my wife and my 2 boys, Micah and Malachi, and we're watching The Grinch. And I get a DM on Facebook. For my older friends here, DM means direct message. I get a direct message on Facebook. And so I got to preface. So several months prior to me getting this message, I sent one of my promotional videos to a community page up by where I live. Just like, hey, man, I changed my life around. Will you share this with your community? I'm trying to do some good. I never heard back. Well, unfortunately, in 2015, my addiction took me a place I never wanted to go, and I ended up stealing some pills from a friend of mine. I got arrested for breaking and entering, but we'll talk about that later. And on Christmas Eve, 2019, the person that moderates that page decided to reply to my request for posting the video. No posting on this page, bro. The people that you robbed were good friends of mine. I don't care if you've turned your life around. 0 tolerance. I was 4 years sober when he sent that message. I had a book out. I'm a motivational speaker. My kids had never seen me take a drink or a drug. Who is he to talk to me like that? And that's when I realized that you always have a choice. You might not be able to choose the way that people treat you. You might not be able to choose the things that people say to you. You might not be able to choose the way that people label you or remember you. But you always have a choice. You have a choice in the way that you respond, and you have a choice in the way that you allow it to impact you. You see, because if I hadn't gotten help for all my stuff, I would have handled this a lot different. But I chose to respond with grace, and I said, no problem, man. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And whoever that was taking shots at me for anonymously behind his keyboard replied with a middle finger emoji. Merry Christmas. Look, to whoever that is, I'm always going to be a junkie. To whoever that is, I'm always going to be a liar, a thief, an addict. But that's okay. You know why? Because somebody's memory of me does not have to define who I am or the person I'm trying to become. And that's the wonderful thing about life. You can change your narrative anytime you want. Look, you might meet two different people. You might meet one person and be like, yeah, man, I know Sam. He's a liar, a thief, a cheat, a junkie. He robbed my friends. Guess what? He's right. Because at one point I was all those things. You might meet somebody else and be like, yeah, man, I know Sam. He's got a book out and he's a motivational speaker. He's got 3 kids. He's been married to, like, yeah, man, he's good people. Guess what? They're right. Because somebody's memory of me doesn't define who I am or the person that I'm going to become. Somebody's memory of you does not define who you are or the person you can become. I want to leave you guys with a few takeaways. For you note takers, this is your time. One of the best pieces of advice that I've ever gotten in my entire life is what somebody else thinks about you is none of your business. All my life, I allowed the opinions of other people to change everything about myself. Because of the opinions of others, I changed the places I went, the people I hung out with, the clothes that I wore, the music I listened to. I even changed my walk at one point because I thought other people would like me because of it. That's not a joke. So it wasn't until somebody told me, but yeah, Sam, somebody's opinion of you actually is none of your business, that it kind of set me free. I had to start to think, whose opinion of me actually does matter? Whose opinion of you does matter? His and yours. And you're going to hear some motivational speakers be like, man, forget the opinions of others. Don't worry what other people. No, you want to worry what some people think. You know, I care what my wife thinks about me, you know. So don't go all out with that. But, I mean, it's really the opinion of how you feel about yourself that matters the most. I mean, we really got to stop worrying about pleasing other people all the time. Number 2, this is for all my leaders in here. There's a big difference between telling on someone and telling for someone. Telling for someone might just be the help that saves their life. It saved mine. Because somebody spoke for me, my mother got her son back. My wife got her husband back. And today I've got 3 beautiful baby boys that have never seen their father take a drink or a drug. You know, oftentimes we don't want to tell on our friends or our loved ones because we don't want to snitch. We don't want to hurt them, right? Look, by not saying anything, you're actually hurting them more. I wish somebody would have told on me or told for me when I was younger. There's nothing wrong with speaking up for somebody that's too broken, too scared, or too hurt to speak up for themselves. And you guys heard me say this once. I'm going to say it again. You are only as sick as your secrets. You are only as sick as your secrets. There's no problem too small that you're going to bring it to God that he's going to be like, I don't have time for that. There's no problem too big that you're going to bring it to him that he's going to be like, I don't know what to do with that. But oftentimes we don't want to say anything. We don't want to say anything to him. We don't want other people. Look, you know. And as long as you know, if you're like me, that's going to eat you alive. Who here is familiar with Luke 15, the parable of the lost sheep? A few of you, some of you, none of you, a few of you. So in Luke 15, Jesus tells a parable of the lost sheep. He says, suppose one of you has 100 sheep and he loses one of them. Don't you go out into the open field and leave the 99 to go find that one lost sheep? You see, I believe that he was using that parable as a metaphor for a lost soul, for a lost person like myself. And I remember every time that I would relapse and get sober, I would get help, some mental health help from my depression or anxiety. I'd be like, yes, I found God. No, I didn't. God wasn't lost. Sam was. He found, as many times as I turned my back on him, he never turned his back on me. So for the person right now that's struggling, for the person right now that feels like they have no hope, for the person in the room that feels lost, If he can find me, 6 arrests, 3 treatments, overdose, waking up in the ICU with a tube down my throat, handcuffed to a gurney, 3-year sentence in jail, liar, thief, cheat, junkie, if he can find me, there is nobody too lost in this room that he cannot find. I know we're getting ready to do a quick intermission. I'd love to stay connected with you guys. We're going to do a short Q&A later, but I know this is a big room. We're not going to get to everybody. I answer every DM that comes through on social media, so if you guys want to look me up, that's great. I'm happy to stay connected with you after I leave. If you look at the Bibles that are in the pews in front of you, I actually have a book on Amazon that was co-authored by my wife, and I stashed a few books in front of those Bibles. So everybody go ahead and take a look at the Bibles in front of you. If you have a book, go ahead and meet me out in the foyer, atrium, whatever you guys call it here, and I will sign that for you, and we can talk about some more stuff later. But I just want to thank everybody, and I think it's about time that we go to intermission now. Is that right?
Back because we're going to have a panel with the Colemans and with Sam. We're going to ask some questions, but let's keep the conversation going. Over in the gym, we have some refreshments. We got food. Bathrooms right over here. We also got bathrooms in the gym. And in 15 minutes, we'll be back together. Let's keep the conversation going. Let's go. Let's do it, Tim.
My name's Katie, and I am Michael Coleman's cousin, and I'm going to play a song for you that I wrote 2 years ago after Mikey died, and it's basically Isaiah 61 put to music, and really this song didn't really have meaning for me until recently, because it talks about liberating captives, it talks about imprisonment, and after Mikey died, I was experiencing a lot of my own captivity and imprisonment with anxiety and depression, and for a long time I didn't want to have hope. That felt disingenuous, and so, but recently, as you know, in the passage, I don't consider myself the narrator. I find, you know, in my process, Jesus to be the narrator of this, because he wants, in my experience, he wants to come in to the imprisonment and the captivity. He wants to soften and irrigate us with love, and so yeah, this is really about liberty, you know, from captivity, and this is, you know, it's a passage from the Bible, so that doesn't mean that it's a band-aid. It doesn't mean that the liberation came overnight. You know, it doesn't mean, oh, it's all fine, you know, because we have liberty and we have a garment of praise instead of a faint spirit. It's like I had that faint spirit for a long time. So hope is miraculous because of all of the things that we're addressing in this event are so horrific and tragic and terrible. And so hope is real. So I just want to share this with you. Here we go.
Spirit of the Lord is upon me, 'cause the Lord has anointed me to speak good news to the poor, to comfort all who mourn. Yeah, to comfort all who mourn, to give them a beautiful headdress instead of ashes, the garments of praise instead of thanks, Spirit, that they may be called oaks of righteousness. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, 'cause the Lord has anointed me to speak good news to the poor. Yeah. He sent me to bind the brokenhearted, proclaim liberty to captives, to open prison wall, yeah, to comfort all who mourn in this room, yeah, to comfort all who mourn, to give them a beautiful headdress instead of ashes, the garments of praise instead of thanks, Spirit, that they may be called oaks of righteousness. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, 'cause the Lord has anointed me, oh, to speak good news to the poor. Oh, He sent me to bind the brokenhearted, proclaim liberty to captives, to open prison wall, yeah, to comfort all who mourn, to comfort all who mourn, all who mourn. All who grieve, all the lost survivors, all who mourn, yeah, to comfort all who mourn. Thanks so much.
The ideas come into the head all the time, different ways, different thoughts of, and it's that idea again. And I'm really grateful that I didn't. I'm really grateful that today I can mentor and come alongside other women, and that's what I do. As much as I can, I want to come alongside any woman I can that I see hurting or struggling. And if I can give them something that I wasn't given at that time, then that's what I want to do. I didn't have anybody coming into my life at 15. I didn't have anybody coming into my life when I was 21 and saying, hey, do you have something you want to talk about? Hey, do you need a hand? Hey, are you struggling with something? Because there was plenty of opportunities that somebody could see something on my face if they took just 1 second to look past my outfit, or past my purse, or past my hair,
past that, if they just take a minute to just look and see a person, to see them, and like, hey, how's your day going? You can kind of tell, how's your day going? You know, you can kind of see when someone's having a hard day. And you can just have a conversation with somebody. And when you have a conversation with somebody, you'd be surprised what you can gain and learn from that conversation. So I try to be that for as much as I can, just to be the best 10 minutes of somebody's day, because you never know what 10 minutes you can be in somebody's day.
You know, the thoughts and the feelings just became a lot more invasive. I had to work harder to not think about it than think about it. If I admitted to myself that I was thinking about it too much, that felt more dangerous to me, or admitting, you know, that it was really going on.
Healing isn't always instantaneous. There's some people who just like experience things really intensely, and the joys are really intense and like exuberant, and then the lows are like devastating. People with clinical depression, like, oh, they just want it to leave.
You just keep to yourself, and you think you're like the only one dealing with it. Like, you don't have to do that on your own, you know? So that was, yeah, and that was definitely like the painful part of it too, is like that he like felt so bad, and that like he just felt so alone, which was so hard to like comprehend, because like he like wasn't alone, you know? It's like we were all there, like there's so many people who died for him like without question, but he still just felt alone, and that stung too.
So now I can look back and be like, okay, all right, that was just all little pieces of me that needed healing, but instead they get shattered, and you end up in thousands of pieces, and you have to really honor those parts, or you're gonna run from it. So, and then it's like amazing how it just comes back into your heart, and you have a sense of peace and ease, and it's like, okay, you know, that pain, it doesn't have to be so scary anymore. They just need a voice.
I'm Megan Boaz Alvarez. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and the clinical director at Transitions Mental Health Association. So Transitions Mental Health Association has a wide variety of programs that offer clinical supports, employment services, community wellness centers, housing, and then we also operate the Central Coast Hotline. So with such a variety of programs, of course, we serve a variety of different people. We support family members who have a loved one who's struggling with mental health issues. We do a lot of supports for folks struggling with mental health issues, providing direct services, whether it's helping them get connected to employment, helping them kind of get back into their own communities through our wellness centers. Finding affordable housing is a big piece of what we do. And then we also operate 2 farms that create employment opportunities for our clients and help people with kind of a soft entry back into the workplace. So whether somebody's working at the farm or the garden store, or they found a group at one of our wellness centers, like an art group or a support group that really help them get connected to other people in the community. I think it's the connection piece that's the common thread through all of these programs that we've been talking about that really helps people feel supported and like they're not alone.
My name is Melanie Barkett, and I'm the new Central Coast Hotline Program Manager. I started a couple months ago. So my previous position for the last 8 years was also supporting volunteers at CASA of San Luis Obispo. So I feel very strongly about working for organizations in this community that benefit the community. I have very deep ties to this community. I've lived here since 1969, and so I would like to be able to help people while I'm working. And then maybe someday when I retire, I'll volunteer as well. I mean, I knew what Hotline did. I've known about it for many, many years, but I had no idea how connected we are to the community at large, and how we're the only 24/7 hotline that there is in this county, and northern Santa Barbara County as well. So that was surprising and really wonderful to know that we touch so many people. And it was also really nice to see how well trained everybody is. Our call handlers go through an extensive training in person and also on the phone, shadowing experienced call handlers. And many of them come from Cal Poly as interns. Some of them come from Cal Poly as just pure volunteers. And then we have volunteers from all walks of life. It's just been really heartwarming to hear the calls that we get and how the call handlers respond to these calls. And there's a wide variety of calls that we get. We can get calls from people who are concerned about their loved one, friend, neighbor. Maybe they're at a business somewhere and they're concerned about someone that's across the street that needs help. And then we get people that call that are having panic attacks or anxiety attacks. And to hear how the call handlers respond to these calls is really a beautiful thing, because they're so empathetic and caring, and that's what we're here for, is to listen. And really listening is probably the most important, I think, aspect to being a call handler, really being able to be present. And then shift into getting them the resources that they need. All of the call handlers are really experts at our local resources, and we have a ton of wonderful local resources, also in-house resources here at Transitions. So I've really enjoyed getting to know the people that volunteer and also hearing, firsthand what they do. Every household should have the hotline number. Everybody should have it in their back pocket, because I think it's for everybody. I can see people calling and have heard calls just for a number. I need a number for X, Y, and Z to help a friend or for myself. So it can be used for just getting resources. It can use, because we dispatch to the local police department, to our local crisis team, so it can be used for that kind of help. It can be used just because you want to talk about someone who has maybe recently died and you're feeling sad about it and you want a listening ear. So there's a whole spectrum of different ways people can use the hotline, and that it's all appropriate. And our call handlers are really good at sort of redirecting to different resources if maybe our resource isn't the perfect one. The amount of help that we do it's really across the board. We get approximately 1,000 calls per month, and we touch lots of different people. We have some callers that call on a frequent basis because we are their touchstone, and that's really an important thing for a community to have.
That's why we have all these resources. That's why we have different things to help people, because we're all in different places. But every single person matters. Whatever they're going through matters. And the more that we can come together within community through organizations or just, friendship, the more community that we build as we connect with each other.
Communication with others leads to community, because you're invited into community through communication. Even if it's just one person, we're stronger together. We're just stronger together. And, lies can't hide in the light. They just can't, because in community, we dispel the lies that we harbor in our hearts through getting it out and having a safe person, listen to us,
This community has come around us, and therefore the hope that we've experienced has been, I can't even tell you the hope that's come out of it. It's made me want to make a difference. It's made me say, wow, we're loved, we're accepted, this community loves us. And in that place, hope rises.
It's the lack of hope that becomes destructive. It's the lack of encouragement that becomes destructive. And that's why we're better together in community, because sometimes we all have a lack of hope. And we need to be able to express that, and we need to be able to encourage each other in it. When I'm temporarily weak, my friend is temporarily strong, and vice versa. When he's temporarily weak, I'm strong, and we can lift each other up in times of trouble.
We can speak that into people's lives because we've personally experienced it. And then we turn around and give that same hope that people gave us to other people, where we can now surround the next person and the next person when they go through hard times, or they're struggling with their mental health, or they lose someone to suicide. It's hard. It's hard to struggle with these things, but it's so encouraging to feel like people are surrounding you, and it's just amazing to experience that and then to give it back.
Without hope, you can't build a home, or you can't build a family. And they always say, use the frame hopes and dreams. Think about it. Without a lack of hope, you're not dreaming anymore. You're not creating anymore. You've stopped. And it's they work hand in hand, the hopes and dreams. And sometimes, you may have an unrealized dream that can really set you back, or give you a lack of hope. But it's really just encouraging each other to keep going forward, keep moving forward. Because I've had so many instances in my life where I thought, oh, my dream is dead, or it's over, and it's just not the case. It's just not, I just can't see it yet. And so that hope in a better tomorrow is what we really need to encourage each other for.
Hope is part of the solution, because if we don't have hope, we can't move forward in any area of our lives. We can't break through those mental health issues. We can't break through anything, and when we have hope, it gives us the inspiration and the motivation to see that there's help. There's help. And we can move forward and we can help other people.
Well, the hope of the conference is to help everyone that does attend connect. The hope is that we help encourage people to communicate, to open up, talk, and at least just say, hey, I'm interested to continue the conversation. We know that you're not going to solve everything that you're facing today, but by raising your hand and saying, yeah, I need a little help here, that's the first step. And that's what we're hoping for in this conference. If one person does that today, we've won.
I've been in the church world for a long time, and I know that we tend to celebrate, when people get better, and oftentimes we don't know the struggle that is currently happening. And I think what you guys are doing, what I appreciate so much, is that you guys are talking about struggling now and working through the barriers currently, not just getting better and then coming back 6 months later and being like, I used to struggle with this. It's, especially Sam, you sharing relapse and the shame that comes with everything, and the lies that we hear in our heads about who we are. And you guys are starting this conversation saying, let's get the community together and let's talk about the barriers and to community, to real health. And so we're going to have a panel, and I want to ask you guys each a question. about breaking through these barriers and how we find real community, how we get through the stigma, how we break through the hesitations towards moving towards health and asking for help. And Daryl, I know everything that you've gone through, you know, I can't imagine what you've gone through. But there had to be moments where you just didn't want to reach out, ask for help, be better. Was there any hesitation? What helped you break through the hesitations of asking for help?
You know, we had so many people come around us when Michael passed away. The shock of him passing away was overwhelming. And all of these people came into our lives and surrounded us and loved us, and they really performed, you know, emergency rescue on us, triage, and cared for us and loved on us. And for that, I'm so truly grateful. But time goes by, and those people start to go home, and because they're not necessarily there for long-term care. And that's not to say that that's bad, that just wasn't their role. And so I would go to professional counseling, and I would, you know, work through some of the grief. And then there was this place where I thought, okay, I'm better now. I'm better. That's all done. That's over with now. I'm done. And then, wow, I'm alone with my thoughts. And I'm remembering my son because another friend's son is getting married, or another friend's son is graduating college. And how do you, the hesitancy, it's like, oh, I got to go to that. I don't want to be rude, but I'm dying inside, just wrecked. And it's also a part of the healing, but it's a horrible place of healing. I don't know another way to put it, because as I do that more and more, some of the hesitancy is just sharing your emotion with people. They don't understand, or you think you're going to be judged, you know, like Sam says, you know. I have these sort of little rituals that I have to remember Mikey. I know you guys are admiring my cool Crocs, and they are from Disneyland, and they do have Mickey Mouse on the top. They are custom. And not only are they the most comfortable shoes in the entire world, so I highly recommend them. Yeah. They remind me of my son, because our family spent a lot of time at Disneyland, and I guess you said hesitancy. Well, if you look at the prices at Disneyland lately, there's hesitancy there, because, yeah. But you know, Mikey was an incredible artist, and I don't know if you guys have witnessed a lot of his artwork. That'll be coming in the future. We'll be sharing a lot more of that with people. But I remember when we were at Disneyland and we went to a drawing class, he and I. We learned how to draw Mickey Mouse together. I can't write my name, you know. And mine looks like a squiggle and a stick, and his is Mickey Mouse, and I'm like, you know. But, you know, I share that story, and you know, I guess, you know, the fear is that I would be judged. I know it's odd, right? You probably all think it's a really cute story, but as I talk about it, you know, I have to realize that I have to keep talking about things. I have to, as you know, not only does it keep my son alive in my heart, but because I actually kind of suffer from a form of PTSD. Am I saying that right? PTSD. And you know, I've never gone to war, but I have a trauma, and I don't know I know some of you can relate to this. It's like this balloon, this anxious balloon fills, this anxiety-ridden balloon fills. And the only way I can release that pressure valve is to talk about it. And somebody doesn't even have to have the answer, you know? I mean, they just need to listen to me a little bit, you know? And you know. You know, I have a wound that I don't know that I'm ever going to really get over. It's just going to be different, you know. I mean, I pray that somehow it just goes away. But I'm becoming less and less resistant to what people think and less hesitant to speak about it, as you can see. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you. Follow-up question with that. For you, after suffering such a loss, do you have to be ready to talk, or when people check in with you, is that a good thing?
You know, I've got some good trusted friends. Many are in this room. Got a band of brothers that I hang out with, wherever Mr. Burbank is in here. And we do check in with one another. We do life together. We struggle, and you know, I've got family. You know, got my brothers and sister-in-laws I talk to. Got my dad, it's funny how this works. Sometimes grief is weird. You know. Sometimes you want to talk about it, and sometimes you don't want to be bothered. You know, somebody, how you doing? Stop bothering me, you know. Because you don't want to think, you know, you don't want to think. But having that trusted group, you know, even professionals, you know, to talk to and to open up to it's just vital. There's just no other way to do this. There just isn't.
Thanks, Daryl. Just keep talking. Thank you. For you, Sam, for everything you've been through, 2 questions. One, what were the barriers for you getting the help that you needed, first part? And the second question is, and how did you overcome those barriers? So what were the barriers, and how did you overcome them to getting help?
So, you mean, you already heard me talk about a lot of the barriers, the fear, the insecurity, the judgment. And I don't think it's any coincidence that I actually read this morning. Where's all my mental health professionals at in the room? Have any mental health professionals left in here? A few of them. So I'm reading The Body Keeps the Score right now. Okay, so a few of you are familiar with that. And it's all about dealing and healing from trauma. And in there, the author says, the greatest sources of our suffering are the lies we tell ourselves. The greatest sources of our suffering are the lies we tell ourselves. And I mean, that's my story. I mean, I was telling myself I wasn't good enough. Nobody's going to understand. Nobody cares. There's no way I'm going to be able to overcome this. I'm always going to feel this way. I actually believe that there was truth in the lies I allowed my heart to believe. You know, until I started to realize that what I was going through was common. And when I realized that, wait a second, I sat in a room full of people, whether it was in 12-step recovery or in church or in Celebrate Recovery, or just talking to some dude at the gym that's like, yeah, man, I've been through that too, and this is what I did. And I started to realize, like, okay, you know, other people have managed to not get over it, because I think that's just a bad choice. We're not supposed to get over certain things, but we can be given tools to live life on life's terms and to deal with the hand that we've been dealt, so we can live on with it or live on from it and not have to suffer on a daily basis. And can you repeat the second part of the question for me?
Yeah, it was how'd you break through those barriers?
So I don't think I've broken through those barriers. I mean, it's something I have to do on a daily basis. I mean, it's a daily grind. I had a 30-second conversation on the way out the door with somebody who's like, oh, how did you get over all this? I'm not over it. I still struggle with this stuff regularly, man. I still struggle with anxiety. I still struggle with depression. You know, I've relapsed plenty of times. You guys heard my story. But when it comes to getting over things like dealing with the loss of your son, or managing your suicidal thoughts or your depression, or taking those pills or drinking that drink, or, whatever it is that you're watching on a computer that you're not supposed to be watching, it's not one and done. You don't graduate from 12-step recovery. You don't go 20 days into a treatment center and come out on day 29 and like, oh, I'm healed. It's not a problem anymore. No, it doesn't work that way. All right, so here's how I go. Everybody here took a shower today, right? Right? No, yesterday, maybe? All right. So here's where I'm going with it, right? So the shower that you took today is not going to keep you clean tomorrow. It'll probably benefit you all to shower tomorrow and the next day. Okay? I worked out this morning. The workout that I did this morning is not going to keep me fit 3 weeks from now. Y'all see where I'm going with this? Okay? The meeting that I went to last week is probably not going to keep me sober next week. The meeting that I had with my counselor 2 weeks ago to talk about my depression is probably not going to benefit me 3 months from now. Okay, these are things I have to do and that's why I need to deal with my spiritual fitness, physical fitness, and mental fitness on a daily basis. I got to try to hit all three, and that can look like a lot of different things. Sometimes it looks like going to a meeting. Sometimes it's talking to a friend or family member. It can be listening or watching something inspirational on TV or YouTube, talking to a friend. There's a lot of different ways I can do it, so I can't ever say that I've gotten over it. It's something that I manage daily, and sometimes I fail at it miserably. But if and when I do, I don't have to be ashamed of that. I don't have to let it define me. I don't have to say to myself, oh, I messed up. I guess I got to start over. No. I've already been forgiven. I've already been through this mess. And, for anybody out there that's in the middle of a relapse or I had, 95 days of sobriety and I drank last night. Well, guess what? Tomorrow's still going to be day 96, isn't it? You don't need to wake up and live in that shame. So just manage it on a daily basis.
That's awesome. Thank you. It's a totally different, you've shifted your mind. And I know God's been a big part of the retraining of your mind, the thoughts about yourself, but I appreciate that. Thank you. Cindy, I know everything that you've gone through. I know prayer is huge for you. I know that you've prayed your way through all of this, but I also know that maybe the question is this, how have you taken care of yourself emotionally and mentally through this trauma?
Well, I just want to speak on the help piece because I have a really hard time asking for help. I really do. And I remember some of my best friends that I pray with and came to me and said, Cindy, how can we help you? What can we do? And I thought about it, and I thought all the meals were coming. Mikey passed away. There was a meal train for several months, thank God, because I couldn't function at all. But I said to them, I really need you guys for the long haul. Like, this is not, like Daryl said, this isn't just going to go away. This is the deepest possible wound I can't even imagine a mother ever going through. Like, it is horrible. And so these friends have just come along my side, and I lean into it. It's weekly. It's like Sam's saying, it's like you said, the shower. You can't rely on yesterday's shower. It's like every day you just have to, But the help piece is like, I have such a hard time taking care of myself. I love giving to others, encouraging others, and all of those things. But then it was my time where I need you guys. Like, I'm not going to make it. And it was as though I just heard, lean into people of strength, that strong support group that you have, lean into that. Another thing that I did was counseling. Counseling saved my life, totally, because I just got to come and just share what I was really going through in a really, really safe spot. Another thing, what Sam touched on, was the physical fitness. I've been part of a tennis team for probably 25 years and sort of was taken out of that for 5 months. And my whole tennis team was so wonderful. Cindy, we're here. If you want to just come slowly back on the court. And I was teaching for 12 years. And I let that go because I knew I was going to do Knowing You Matter. I had to do this. And they were so gentle and kind with me. And so I got back on the court. And it's just my time. You're not just to let it all go. You know what I mean? And then the other thing, and I have a wonderful, wonderful family, wonderful, wonderful family. My family has been amazing. I have leaned into that with everything that I have. And then the last piece is, well, I had to learn to do some actually really fun things. I called my friend Kay, and we went down to Solvang and got a massage. And, you know, I'm just, it feels so selfish to me, and yet it's everything that I need. Literally, everything that I need. And I've, you know, and then the last piece is just journaling. I've never in my life experienced these kinds of emotions so intense, losing Mikey, that I didn't even know what to do with these feelings. And I'm going to say what my counselor said to me. That all of this wasn't meant to stay inside of you. And it made so much sense to me. And I'm like, I need to write my thoughts down. So whenever a raw emotion came that I just couldn't deal with, I got on my computer, I titled it, and I started writing. And I just put it on paper, or put it in the computer. Yeah.
I know that you journaled so much, you actually took your journal thoughts and you put it into book form, correct?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Again, the emotions of losing Mikey were so intense, and I just wanted to meet, and not like you want to go look for somebody who's lost a child, you don't, but like I needed to talk to somebody who had. And I experienced so much emotion and everything I was going through that I just felt like this prompting to, when I wrote the journal entry, I coupled it with a scripture and my thought for the day to reframe the harshness of the thoughts of just like beauty for ashes. Like, my son died, but I'm not defeated. My son died, but I'm not going to let this kill me. Do you know what I mean? And it was how I made it through, and I thought, I'm going to publish this, that if anybody has lost someone, they could maybe, if anything that I wrote or the inspiration through my thoughts could help somebody. Because I just felt like I couldn't relate to anything. I was reading like some clinical psychological book, it just wasn't doing it for me. I lost my son. And so anyway, I put it to print, and I have the books, and yeah. And so I hope it helps people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cindy.
Yeah.
And people can come talk to you when we're done. We're going to be closing up here in a second, but if they want to get a book, they can come talk to you, figure it out. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I hope it will help. Yes, Sam.
Can I add something really
Yeah,
quick?
please.
Cindy just said something very important that I want to expand on. And she said, I didn't want to go find somebody that lost their son, but I felt like I needed to. And it's probably one of the most important things that you could have done. I'm a huge fan of counseling and therapy. I do it myself. I've made major breakthroughs in certain things that I've dealt with in my life doing that. I'm also a huge fan of peer support. And there's so much power of two people that have been broken in some way, shape, or form, whether it's the loss of a loved one or a child, it's drinking, it's pornography, it's codependency, it's finances, it's divorce. Sitting in a room with somebody who's actually been through it and talking and knows exactly how you're feeling because they've experienced it, there's so much power in that. So in addition to the therapy and counseling, whatever it is you're going through, trust me, there's a group for it out there. Just, you got to go find it. So you don't need, I understand the way you said it, but that was probably one of the most important things you could have done.
Absolutely. I think just having the conversation, I love how Knowing You Matter is committed to having this conversation, saying, yeah, well, there's hardships in the world, there's trauma we go through, addictions, mental health, just labeling, having us all stand up. That's powerful that we all know someone or we are someone that's struggling with addiction or depression. It does lower the stigma when you can be that person. So instead of having to find even maybe a random person, when we have actual friendships, we learn that we bear each other's burdens. And so it's not this alien thing, correct? Yeah, so just doing real friendships, it's really important. So, hey, we're going to be done here with the panel. We have a couple more things to say, but let's give them a big hand. Thank you for sharing. We'll keep the conversation going. macro level. We thank you for all that you're doing, Knowing You Matter. But what's next for Knowing You Matter? You guys have launched your 503c, right?
501c3.
501c3. 501c3. There you go.
Yes.
There you go. So what's next?
Well, we launched Knowing You Matter just knowing that we had to go. We really had actually no idea what we were doing. Little secret. But we just kept being faithful with everybody's donations, and we just kept producing content. We are telling our story through video media. We have a wonderful videographer who owns Clay Jar Media, Nate Hand, and he's here tonight, and this is his handiwork, and I thank him for it. So we're telling our story, and we're posting it on our website and other social media platforms so that people seeing what we're talking about and videotaping other people as well, but so that we can open up communication. Basically, we're communicating and we're asking in the hopes that people will communicate with us. And then through that, we're trying to build connection. We're trying to connect everybody to the resources that they need. And in that connection comes community because, we're stronger together. We just are. We're not made to be isolated, They talk about self-made millionaires. There's a lot of people doing that to make that guy a millionaire. So they did that in community. Next steps, we're just continuing to build our partnerships with community resources. And, we've got wonderful community resources here. And I'm so thankful that they're here to help support us in the effort in community. We have a Hope Bag project, which was a little bit too much for us to go in tonight, but go back to our resource table later and you'll be able to see what we're doing with our Hope Bag project. Where else are we at with things?
Yeah, the Hope Bags have been one of my biggest pieces has been coming along. Although the ultimate goal is suicide doesn't happen because that's the last thing. We need to take care of our mental health so that this doesn't happen. But for me, as a mother who's lost her son, I've been coming alongside of lost survivors, parents who have lost children. And it has been probably one of the greatest joys that I could ever experience. I've given my book and the Hope Bag, which has self-care items, and we have a note written to people, and we are also getting them into schools right now to give to those that are dealing with suicidal thoughts, attempt survivors and lost survivors. And what we have in there is we have, a DoorDash card, we have all kinds of self-care items for those struggling, a personal note written, and then we also have a little scan code where they can scan and get resources for whatever they're struggling with. And it's just a way to add personal touch and to bring hope to people. Yeah.
The other thing, we touched on was Cindy's book. And so we are promoting the book and in the hopes that it does bring comfort. Because, we're talking a lot about suicide and ideation and those kinds of things, but the grief side of things, we don't, because that's personally what we're dealing with is grief. And I know that so many people have reached back. Cindy just released this book, 2 weeks ago. And I mean, it's people, you can tell what people are saying.
Well, it's just really, like I said, it's really my authentic faith journey with God and working it out and just really like sharing my raw thoughts at that moment. It's not pretty. It's really not pretty. It's not, I'm not a writer, but I just had to write it down, and just get it out and hope that maybe somebody could relate to those thoughts because it's just such a hard experience, but it just brings me so much hope to feel like I've been able to give this to people who are struggling and be able to identify with them, And I'm so, I just, it has been, I don't know why, and I tell this to people, but I just, especially coming alongside moms that have lost children, I just want to sit with them, and I want to be with them, and I want to bring them hope, because it's almost unsurvivable losing a child. It really is. And we need to be hope. Whatever we've experienced, and we've gotten hope ourselves, and people have come along our sides, we need to be that. We need to pay it forward. Yeah.
And then just the next thing on the horizon for us too is in November, on November 20th at Thousand Hills Ranch, we are having a Harvest of Hope dinner and auction. And it'll be just a fun night of eating and socializing and fabulous auction items. And so we're looking forward to that.
I just want to say one thing, because I need to honor Ben and this church for coming alongside of us.
Yes.
It has been amazing. Yeah. And I have to honor all of our volunteers. We've probably had maybe 50 volunteers, and they have been outstanding, fabulous, amazing, and all of our vendors. And you guys, I'm so honored that everybody's come out tonight. Thank you so much for supporting us, and I hope that you have received some hope tonight.
Awesome. Daryl, you land the plane for us?
Pardon me?
Are you going to land the plane for us? I thank you guys so much for just letting us partner with you. Truly, I mean, it's been an honor. And as a church, we've been forever changed. I know we've mentioned that many times, but our church is different, our community is different, and we truly believe that God is doing something, and it's been a wake-up call, and I think a lot of people are responding and knowing we need deeper community, we need to continue to the conversation. So thank you guys. But Daryl, you want to finish us off?
Well, thank you. Yeah, again, and I thank you so much for, Ben, Grace Bible Church, for hosting us here with our first event. I know that there will be another event, and I wish I could say that there wasn't, going to be another event in some ways. But I know that we're going to grow stronger and stronger and grow as a community, and that we're going to bring a lot of healing to a lot of people, and people that have not yet come to this place. So, if it's okay, Ben, I want to try something here. I'm not a speaker, I just play one on TV. Cindy, if you get up with me right here. So I've got my notes because I'm forgetful. My birthday was last month on August the 7th, and I thought I was turning 59, but I wasn't. I was turning 58. So I was never 57, but I've been 58 twice. So, yeah. So here's the deal. We're talking about connection here. We're talking about communicating, and we've communicated with you. And if you're up for it, we want you to communicate with us. I've got volunteers here, our Knowing You Matter Connection volunteers, and I'd like to invite those volunteers to come down into the front here and stand here. So if you guys just kind of want to make your way across, just kind of spread out like this. So what I want to do is I just want to invite you. We want to invite you. If you're dealing with something today and you just want to connect, I promise you each and every one of these people are here because they know you matter. That's why they're here. That's why we're here. You matter. If you just want to talk, we've got some licensed counselors here on staff. If you're really doing something, needing to talk to somebody right now, they can get you pointed in the right direction. If you're wanting to pray with someone, everybody here will be able to point you in the right direction. Cindy and I and Sam, we're going to be right out here in the lobby if you'd like to come talk to us.
Also, our resource fair is continuing. It's probably going to go on for another 45 minutes or so. There's plenty of food out there. But I just want to invite you, don't be afraid, come down, have a little conversation with my friends here, come out and talk to me and Cindy, come out and talk to Sam. But I just want to thank you guys. I just want to thank you so much for being here with us today and for honoring the legacy of our son ultimately, and knowing that you matter. And that's how I land the plane, I guess. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's give a big hand to the Coleman family, and thank you for everybody making this a great night.